Good afternoon, everyone. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, I could hear you loud and clear, sister.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Okay. So at this time, let me apologize for the late start. You know, sometimes with technology, how it is, it fails us. Nevertheless, we will begin our program this afternoon with an invocation done by none other than our General Secretary, Sister Ketty King-Reen. Good afternoon, everyone. Let us bow heads in prayer. Our merciful and eternal God, we do truly thank you for the privilege first gathered here this afternoon. We ask, dear God, to guide us through this afternoon proceeding, CWP Memorial Lecture. With the speaker, the presenter, Dr. Garth Anderson, with all the persons who are tuned in here with us, in Jesus' holy and precious name, amen. Yes, thank you very much, Sister Ketty. At this time, we will have the rendering of the national anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that was the rendering of the national anthem of St. Vincent. And that was the rendering of the anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We will now have our teacher's song. Okay, thank you very much to Sister Sheena Clouden for the rendition of the teacher song. President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, Brother Oswald Robinson, executive members of the national executive members of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, administrative staff, special guest, Dr. Gaff Anderson, President of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, presidents of the branches of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, stewards, general membership, well-wishers, good afternoon. It is with distinct pleasure that I welcome you to our annual lecture, C.W. Prescod Memorial Lecture for our Solidarity Week 2022, under the theme, Adequate Quality Teachers, the Foundation of a Progressive Society. Without adequate quality teachers, we cannot progress as a society. And in light of all that has happened in our society, the impact of the vaccination mandate, the impact of COVID, and the natural disaster of the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano, it is time, even more so time for us to prepare the classrooms for the future with adequate quality teachers. Does that mean that we don't have quality teachers in the system? Obviously not. And it's through our Solidarity Week, we want to emphasize this year the importance of quality teachers, not to take them for granted, but to move on and add to that so that we can remain a progressive society for our future generations. I will not be long-winded this afternoon because we have an interesting and insightful program. So with that, let me welcome you officially to the C.W. Prescod Memorial Lecture. At this time, we would pause to get remarks from our president, Brother Oswald Robinson.
Master of Ceremony, Sister Fiona Charles, other members of the National Executive, President, General Secretary.
Brother Robinson, let me just interrupt you here. You are very low. Your audio is very low. Can you please speak up?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Master of Ceremony, Sister Fiona Charles, other members of the National Executive, President, General Secretaries of the branches, members of staff, and the general membership of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, special invited guests, our featured speaker, Brother Dr. Gart Anderson, President of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to join with the Public Relations Officer, who is also the Master of Ceremony for this evening's activity, and welcome you warmly to another C.W. Prescod Memorial Lecture. This is one of the activities that has been institutionalized by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, and it is held as part of Teachers Solidarity Week each year. Today we are doing this virtually, taking advantage of the technology that is available. We want to re-echo that adequate teachers is the foundation of our progressive society. And the PR would have alluded to that, and I'm sure that the featured speaker will expound more on this topic that is under discussion. I want to encourage all of us to remain focused. Take as much as you can from the activities for this evening, especially the lecture, and we'll be able to empower ourselves with knowledge and appreciate the importance of having adequate quality teachers in the classroom. Well, C.W. Prescod, I'm not going to steal the thunder from the person who will do the citation, but this lecture is done in honor of a very outstanding educator who was a past president of the Teachers Union and would have left us with a legacy in terms of contribution to the development of the teachers union and also of the education system. C.W. Prescod, he is one of the role models, even though he is dead now, that we must try our best to take at least one page or one leaf from the life that he has lived. And I am sure that once we emulate him, we also would be in a position to do likewise, to continue to build the education system and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union. This pioneer of our education system, Christopher Wilberforce Prescod, was born on the 2nd of June 1885. That's the 2nd of June 1885. And he died on the 28th of January 1980. So that is 94 years old. I just want to share a little tale about C.W. Prescod also. In fact, the story is told about him when he was a teacher in the system, that there was this young lady that he was very much loved and wanted to exchange his hand in marriage. And so he was encouraged to write to the parents. You see, in those days, you have to write to the parents before you could start to court or date their children. So he wrote this letter, and then he didn't really pay much attention after that. But about a week and a half after, just after his lunch break, somebody came to the school requesting to see him. And the person said that they came to him to respond to the letter. Right? This is very interesting. To respond to his own letter. And he laughed a little, you know, because it was very interesting. Here is a young lady coming to his school to ask him to respond to a letter. But they did not know that that was the same gentleman who wrote the letter. So he tried to resist, but you see, one of the reasons why they came to him is that the letter was written so well. It was an excellent piece of writing. And that's why they came to CWP to respond to the letter. And he did. Interestingly, he did. But the story did not go on to tell whether he was able to get this young lady to marry to. But that is just a little tip to tell you the depth and the quality of this educator. So we are very proud of him, and we continue to have this lecture every year in remembering his legacies and the hard work that he has put in. And I know that in our midst, right in this very audience, we have other educators who are similar like him, who have made significant contribution to the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, and also to educate, and also to the education system. And just as we are saluting C.W. Prescod, we are also reflecting on those who continue to walk in this very good pathway that C.W. Prescod would have laid. So I want to wish everybody all the best. For the rest of the week, we have our new members workshop tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we have our annual general meeting. And then on Thursday, we have a cocktail where we're going to award 12 outstanding members who have served the Teachers Union, who are members of the Teachers Union, who are retired. And we are very proud of them, and we're going to pay tribute to them. And on Friday, by the will of the Lord, we would have our annual Solidarity March and Rally. This is one of the high point also, because on March 14, 1975, the teachers of that era, those of whom we continue to build upon their hard work, their commitment, and dedication. Many of them were tear gas on November the 14th, 1975. Many were transferred, were dismissed, and today we reap the benefits of their hard work. And we look forward that we'll continue to do so as a union. And then on Saturday, we would have a teacher on talent showcase at the union's headquarters of Mackey's Hill, and we will do it to reminisce, to burn off some of the stress, and we're expected to have a barbecue on sale, and we want to encourage our members to get involved. So I want to wish everybody a very successful week, and take care of yourself and your family. One of the issues that we're also considering this week is the dismissal of our teachers, 212, and we are also having this matter being discussed in the court. The court met last week, and it would meet this Wednesday at 9 o'clock and also on the 24th. But the real date for the trials would be the end of November and the 4th of December. So we're looking forward for victory. We want to declare victory from the Creator as we move forward. The Teachers Union will celebrate its 120th anniversary as an organization in January next year. And these are some very important milestones in the life of this great organization. And remember, next year we would be celebrating 70 years as a registered trade union. So some very important milestones. And this year is 47 years since the strike of 1975, which lasted for a month from November the 3rd to December the 3rd. And one of the achievements we could talk about today is the Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, which came to assist in terms of the socioeconomic needs of our members. And right in this audience, we have persons who have also worked in that organization, and many of our teachers continue to serve. So I wish everybody all the best for the lecture. Looking forward to hear our brother Dr. God Anderson. I know he has done justice to many of our requests in the past, and we're looking forward, and we appreciate him accepting again to speak to us. All the best to everybody, and let us benefit from this very important exercise this evening. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Brother Robinson, for delivering the opening remarks. At this time, we will have a tribute to C.W. Prescod by none other than our Assistant General Secretary, Sister Tishana Reed.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christopher Wilberforce Prescod was born on June 2nd, 1885, to Joseph and Susan Prescod in Georgetown. He started school at the age of 4 years at the Georgetown Methodist School. He displayed an eagerness to learn that was rare among boys of his age. This helped him to keep at the top of his class. On completing the normal primary school course, he continued his formal education at the same school as a monitor, meaning an unpaid junior teacher who received instructions from the headmaster. He passed his pupil teacher's course in record time and never fell below the second place in all subjects. After doing this, C.W. Prescod turned his attention to qualifying himself as a certified teacher. To do this, he sat and passed the preliminary and junior examination of the College of Preceptors in London and the local examination in school management. This enabled him to take up his first post as an assistant teacher at the Georgetown Government School. When the post of head teacher became vacant at the Evesham Methodist, the Methodist Management Committee had no hesitation in appointing him, for he was an intelligent young man, a good Methodist local preacher, and a Sunday school teacher. So at the age of 22, he became a head teacher. He taught there for 6 years, from 1907 to 1913. He then returned to the Georgetown Government School as head teacher. His achievements were later legendary. In the days of colonial rule, he was the first primary school teacher to be appointed as an inspector of schools, as a member of the Board of Education, head of the Department of Education, as well as a justice of the peace. In the relentless drive to improve his mind, C.W. Prescod became the first Vincentian to obtain the senior honors certificate from the College of Preceptors. That year, he was one of only 2 Windward Islanders to be successful in this examination. He was awarded an honorarium for his outstanding performance by the governor. In 1937, C.W. Prescod attended a summer course in rural education at the Columbia University, New York, where he obtained an A in the final reset. He continued to blaze a path as he became the first Vincentian to obtain the Pitman's Shorthand Teacher Certificate and the Pitman's Commercial Teacher Diploma. He established the Pitman's Examination Center at his home. Here, numerous Vincentians received certification in commercial subjects, such as shorthand, typing, and bookkeeping. During that time, C.W. Prescod received several prizes and certificates for taking first place in competition in Pitman's shorthand. This was not the only extracurricular activity in which he was engaged. Being an accomplished, largely self-taught musician who passed on the skills and with it the love of music to many students, a work of which his son Patrick continues today in the field of education. C.W. Prescod contributed vastly to the political and socio-economic life of our country through the many and varied positions he held. These positions included member of the Georgetown Board, Mayor of Georgetown, Secretary of the Georgetown Agricultural Credit and Loan Bank, member of the Public Library in the Second World War, Chairman of the Advisory Committee of the Kingston Preparatory School, Returning Officer for General Elections, Secretary of the Social Welfare Committee. As president for many years of the then Teachers Association, he served as representative on the Board of Education. Because of the value of the service he gave, he was asked to stay, even when he was no longer president. C.W. Prescod was a staunch, dedicated Methodist. He served as circuit steward and local preacher. His motto remains, "Lie in the Church of the Kingston Methodists," a tribute to the dedicated service he gave. Sharing his achievements, disappointments, joys, and sorrows has been his wife, Charlotte Louise Prescod, née Bacchus, whom he married in 1923. The union produced 6 children: Benjamin, Clara, Norma, Hyacinth, Patrick, and Alfred, all of whom have pursued distinguished careers. In August 1981, at the 20th Biennial Conference of the Caribbean Union of Teachers held here in St. Vincent, the then SVUT, along with their Caribbean colleagues, honored C.W. Prescod posthumously for his brilliant achievements as an educator and scholar. The Teachers Union has entreated a scholarship award and a memorial lecture in his honor. The C.W. Prescod Primary School was named in his honor. This evening, as we focus on the topic, adequate quality teachers, the foundation of a progressive society, let us reflect on the life of this outstanding educator, trade unionist, talented musician, and humble and devoted Christian. And as Sir Rupert John describes him, a teacher of many firsts, and above all, a man of all time and season. Let us as teachers, in C.W. Prescott's own words, be ambitious, conscientious. Teaching is a great profession. I have been teaching for years, and with ambition you go on and on. May this exemplary career serve to inspire students, teachers, and all the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you very much, Sister Reed, for that tribute to C.W. Prescod. At this time, we will have Sister Leisha Benjamin, committee member, delivering the introduction of the speaker, followed by the lecture presentation of Dr. Anderson. Sister Benjamin.
Good evening, all. Dr. Garth Anderson received his professional training at Church Teachers College, Mandeville. His over 20 years of experience in education began professionally as a geography, history, and social studies teacher in 2000, and has since served the education sector at varying levels. His advent into the teaching profession began in 1996 at the Ebony Grove High School and later at the Mapen High and Preparatory School. After graduating from Church Teachers College, he taught at Belfield High School for 2 years before returning to Church Teachers College as a lecturer of geography. He also served as principal of Mushet High School from 2006 to 2010 and worked as part-time lecturer at the International University of Caribbean's Falmouth and Montego Bay campuses, as well as an adjunct lecturer at Temple University. In 2010, he became the first past student to be principal at Church Teachers College, September 2010. Dr. Anderson also holds a bachelor's degree in education from the University of the West Indies, Mona, a master's degree in social science education, and a doctorate in educational leadership from Temple University. He is a trained school inspector with National Education Inspectorate, 2 times president of the Rotary Club of Mandeville, member of the Mandeville Craft Institute Board, a Justice of the Peace for the Parish of Manchester, the Dean of the Teachers College of Jamaica, and the past president of the Jamaica's Teachers Association, member of the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission and the Master Teacher Selection Committee. He served on several other boards and committees, namely the chairman of Heart Trust Pension Committee and director of the Heart Trust NSTA, commissioner of the Overseas Examination Commission, president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, board member of the National Council on Education, member of the Diocesan Youth and Education Board, and board member of Crystal House, Jamaica. Dr. Anderson is an active member of the Association of Caribbean Tertiary Institutions Incorporation, Vice President of TIP Friendly Society, Board Member of the Chase Fund and the University Council of Jamaica. He is involved in several community activities in Mandeville and its environs, a devout Anglican and a member of St. Mark Mandeville Parish Church. He is married and has 3 boys. Welcome, Dr. Anderson.
Hello, everybody. Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me?
Yes, Doc,
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Madam Master of Ceremony, Ms. Fiona Charles, President of SVGTU, Brother Oswald Robinson, Executive Officers, General Council Officers, members, well-wishers, and friends of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, good afternoon. It is indeed my pleasure to participate in your Teachers Solidarity Week activities under the theme, Adequate Quality Teachers, the Foundation for a Progressive Society. I am sure that your activities to date have all been very successful, and certainly those to come will be successful. And no doubt these activities served to motivate and underscore the importance of teachers and the teaching profession in molding a progressive society and advancing the social and economic development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today, I have been asked to give the keynote address for the Christopher Wilberforce Prescod Memorial Lecture, and I consider this an honor. CWP, a very distinguished educator, administrator, and community organizer who gave of his time, talent, intellect, and insight as one of the pioneers in shaping the education system in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Sir Prescod was a man of a number of firsts. First primary school teacher to have been appointed Justice of the Peace, first to be appointed to the Board of Education and Inspector of Education. A unionist at heart, he served as president of the Teachers Union. And so it is commendable that you continue to keep his work and memories alive, not just in the consciousness of teachers, but that of the peoples of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As I reflect on the life and work of Sir Prescod and your theme for Teachers Solidarity Week, I could not escape thinking of October 5 this year, when the world paused to recognize and celebrate the work and worth of teachers under the theme, Transformation of Education begins with the teachers. C.W. Prescod epitomized the embodiment of all that is great and worth emulating by all of us who seek to be high quality and effective teachers and leaders in education. He has left behind his positive footprints and a legacy of service that will be difficult to erase through the many lives that would have been transformed and systems created to sustain the education advancement of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and indeed the teaching profession. To those who are in leadership today in the union and policymakers, all efforts should be made, not just to remember C.W. Prescod around this time, but to apply the principles by which he lived and worked in helping to build a better nation and society. These principles include community organizing, accountability, consultation, and selfless giving to the service and cause of education. One wonders what Sir Prescod is thinking now of the state of education, the teaching profession, and our society today. The teaching profession has been under threat across the world, primarily due to a shortage of teachers, poor remuneration, lack of respect of the professional judgment of teachers, unjust government policies seeking to undermine and control teachers, lack of resources to effectively teach, high levels of stress and antisocial behavior among students. And I want to emphasize, as I heard Brother Robbie speaking of the struggles that are still going on for the 200 plus teachers who are out of their jobs, no doubt based on mere victimization. That on behalf of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, we stand with the teachers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we know that victory will come your way soon. We have been keeping abreast of the victimizers and how they want the teachers to walk back to the classroom through the back doors. But I tell you to stand firm, and like they have done publicly victimizing the teachers, they must publicly take the necessary steps to ensure that all the teachers return to their positions with all the rights and privileges. The transformation of education, my colleagues, must begin with us. We are the heartbeat of the system, not politicians, not technocrats who have to sing for their daily food and to hold their jobs, and who think they know more than us professionals, those of us who are on the barracks, not in the great houses. As the General Secretary of Education International said in his message on World Teachers' Day, governments must invest in teachers, involve teachers, respect teachers as a lifeline of our school system if we ought to transform education and create a just, equitable, and democratic society. For us to transform our education system, there is a need to attract well-qualified teachers and retain them in the system. The migration of teachers, which now forms a significant part of national, regional, and global conversation in education, is something that we must take note of. There is no doubt that the flight of well-trained, experienced teachers in areas of mathematics, science, and other critical subjects will have serious implications for education in the region. In a research conducted by Michael Hogan, Mr. Hogan states that the teaching stock within the Caribbean region has been eroded by migration to developed countries. Higher potential earnings are one of the motivating factors to move abroad, but little is known about the extent of the income disparity between countries in the Caribbean and popular destination countries. Teacher salary comparisons are undertaken between selected countries in the Caribbean, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, and Jamaica, and popular destination countries, namely the UK, the United States, and Canada, using a purchasing power parity known as a PPP exchange rate. Results show that newly qualified teachers can earn substantially more abroad, with Canada paying over twice the PPP adjusted salary compared to that offered in Jamaica and Suriname. The United States offers the highest earning increases for mid and late career teachers at over 3 times that offered in Jamaica and Suriname. Canada is a close second across all Caribbean countries, whilst the United Kingdom offers the smallest salary differential at 153.6% for Jamaica and 64.8% for St. Lucia. The study further reveals that there are salary disparities within the Caribbean, which may be a motivating factor for intra-regional migration. This migration phenomenon is proof that we have some of the best teachers in the world, and developed nations are prepared to grab them with better salaries. We are not asking our governments to match developed countries, but instead give us a livable wage so we can send our children to university, get a roof over our heads, own and drive a good car, and we can go to a hotel on a weekend if we want to, or after all the stress and strain of the job. So we must make no apology as we discuss how important teachers are to the society, that we must demand what is due to us. The salary that they give us is way below what is happening. Even within the Caribbean, you have disparities. And when you look what is happening in countries abroad, teachers are woefully underpaid. And we must not appear that we are begging government to give us something. We must demand it because we would have earned it. COVID-19 has exacerbated these issues in the region, as I am sure you can relate to most, if not all, of these threats and challenges facing teachers. Historically, our region is known for carrying out various studies on the transformation of education. Millions of dollars have been spent on these studies and reports, but unfortunately, little has been done in terms of implementation. The education system in the region has continued to mirror the colonial plan of education, with one set of schools for the uptown people and another for the downtown people. A two-tiered system of education where resources and support for teachers differ sharply according to the profile of your school. This seemingly propagation of the haves and the have-nots schools is a betrayal of stalwarts such as C.W. Prescod and other freedom fighters in the emancipation and independence movement. To whom much is given, much is required. However, the demands being placed on us as teachers to make blood out of stone is unjust and unrealistic. To those who lead and make policies, You can't plant peas and hope to reap corn. Many times in these reform agenda, little is paid to the needs of teachers, apart from casting blame due to a lack of insight and foresight that an investment in our teachers is an investment in our students. We can, as teachers, policymakers, union leaders, miss the nexus between supporting and investing in teachers' development and the transformation of a progressive society through education. Teachers are the most important in-school factor when it comes to students' learning. Therefore, the quality of teachers in the classroom matters. However, quality comes through providing what teachers need to teach, creating a safe environment to work, motivating and empowering them. Investing in teachers will transform schools and our society as teachers who have adequate subject and pedagogical content knowledge, effectively trained and sensitive to the diverse needs of learners, can make a huge difference on the education of all our students. A crucial part of investing in teachers so as to ensure you have adequate quality teachers must involve actions for attracting good candidates to teaching through competitive structures, pay structures and incentives, to equitable deployment policies, to building appropriate professional development support structures. The transformation of our education system to ensure we produce citizens who are competitive, productive, and capable of navigating the global community is what is desirable. We must get policymakers to see the need to invest in teacher training, ongoing professional development for in-service teachers, so that teachers can create a culture of diversity and inclusivity in their classroom. COVID-19 has highlighted some of the comorbidities in our education system in the region, and in one sense transformed the practice of education. However, this true transformation can only be realized when the internet infrastructure is enhanced. Teachers are trained and have access to computers, tablets, and other gadgets, technological gadgets, and other resources to revolutionize teaching and learning. Ensuring inclusive and equitable education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all is a standalone goal in the Sustainable Development Agenda. As a country, any country in the region and elsewhere progresses towards this goal, it will help to accelerate the achievement of other goals, sustainable goals. However, what must be central to this strategy is to ensure we have qualified, professionally trained, motivated, and well-supported teachers available in our schools for all learners. What is needed is a mobilization of union leaders, civil society to include our parents, and a strong sense of political commitment to the cause of using education as a driver for a productive and progressive society. The quality of any education system can exceed neither the quality of its teachers nor the quality of its teaching. Let me repeat. The quality of any education system can exceed neither the quality of its teachers nor the quality of its teaching. So it's important that we focus on ensuring we give support to our teachers. In the region, our politicians like to take the platform when it is, indeed convenient to say how important teachers are to the society. but simply giving lip service. They need to put the money where their mouths are and give us what is due. Some of the most dedicated citizens within the region, within St. Vincent and the Grenadines, are you, our teachers. As educators, we are part of an education system. The level of success of the system depends largely on the operation of the system, which needs to be evidence-based, process-focused, results-oriented, and well-resourced. A good system must be able to attract and retain qualified teachers. In addition, the system must grant sufficient autonomy to teachers to enable schools to focus on learning. In other words, the system, the education system, must not be a hindrance in teachers carrying out their roles and responsibilities. As we seek to navigate the conversation around teacher quality as critical to the creation of a prosperous society, what are some of the characteristics of a good quality teacher? Must come to mind. Some of these can be readily gleaned from the life and work of C.W. Prescod, but I would like to make a few more additions to that list. A quality teacher is one who is committed to students and their learning, treats students equitably, and develops students' respect for learning, manages and monitors students' progress in learning, develops students' critical and analytical skills, thinks systematically about his or her practice, inspires students, and develop their self-esteem, character, and respect for others. Use multiple strategies to convey concepts. Be a member of the learning community, an involved person in the life of the community, and work collaboratively. For too long, teachers are seen as all things to all students: counselor, mother, father, social worker, lawyer, nurse, provider, you name it, you know it. This concept of the teacher, we must work to change if we are going to transform our education system and create a progressive society that is based on merit and hard work. We must provide the resources, human and otherwise, to help the teachers to work as part of a team instead of solo. So we need more guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, nurses in our schools. You look at what happens in other professions. When you go to the hospital, if you're sick, no one doctor looks at you and determines that this is the complaint and this is the treatment. When you go to the hospital, you have a team of persons: nurse, foot doctor, hand doctor, heart doctor, eye doctor, you name it, psychologists if needed, nutritionists, and all of them come together, study what is happening, and then they will prescribe what is the course of action. This is not the case in education. The teacher is all things to all men. And I think we as educators have to work to change that. That education, being a teacher, is a specialized science, and we can't be all things to all men. So we have to work to change that perception that the teacher can do everything, and instead advocate that within our school structure, we have teams, people who specialize in various areas of interest in school, and we work together for the best interests of our students. But if this system was work, the policymakers truly believe that if education is a passport out of poverty, then they would have to make the necessary investment. You see, my colleagues, we have been the true creators of a wholesome society. But we must get the support that is needed to do that. And it is going to be difficult. But as we negotiate, as we sit at the table, the new thinking about how schools should operate is that we need teams within our schools. So the teacher is no longer solo trying to do everything. If you're checking in the UK, if you're checking parts of the United States, this is the refreshing thinking, the innovative thinking, that the teacher no longer must try to be little Jesus. You must ensure that within our education space, we have trained persons who are there to support the work of teachers. My colleagues, I wish for us to turn our attention to the regional discussion taking place on the establishment of teaching councils. CARICOM now has a draft document to guide the development of these councils in member states. The stated purpose of the teaching council is to foster and sustain the professionalization of the teaching profession, deepen teacher quality, regulate the professional practice, and teacher education program. The truth is, all these are laudable objectives that as teachers and union leaders, it would be difficult for us to oppose same on paper. The implementation and philosophy of policymakers seem to be using it as a process of victimizing teachers, to punish teachers, to undermine teachers, giving the impression that teachers cannot regulate themselves, with a wide list of non-teachers proposed to sit on these councils to make professional judgment about teachers. This approach is a sure way of not professionalizing the profession, of not advancing the profession, of not creating quality teachers, but to dumb down the profession instead of raising the profile of the profession. I am sure that you have been keeping abreast of the developments in Jamaica. We must say no to teaching councils unless they are under the control of teachers. Like what happens with lawyers and doctors and nurses. Why is it we who created them can't manage ourselves, but they can manage themselves? And one cannot but wonder, when is it we are going to have a council to regulate these politicians who are after and about to get teachers? It should be noted that in England, the teaching council has been abolished on June 2010, 12 years ago, after its establishment. Secretary Michael Grove, in announcing the abolition of the GTCE, their teaching council, the disciplinary body for teachers, said to the UK government, the UK government must trust the professionals by giving teachers greater freedoms and reducing the unnecessary bureaucracy. He said the GTCE had not done much to raise the teaching standards or professionalism of teachers. Instead, it acted as a further layer of bureaucracy while taking money away from teachers, Grove told the House of Commons on June 2. What the government did in the UK was to redistribute the responsibilities of the council to other entities in the education department. We must study this experience and learn from it so that we do not make the same mistake. We cannot allow politicians to box us around. We are the true creators of a wholesome society. If they are controlling themselves, if other professionals are controlling themselves, then teachers should be able to regulate themselves. And so we have to be watchful. In closing, I would urge that as teachers, we continue to revere the work of C.W. Prescod, but move beyond that to build on the solid foundation he has laid. Adequate quality teachers is central to the development of a robust education system that is able to be an education system that is proactive and responsive to the needs of students and indeed the society. However, for this system to have the desired impact of securing a prosperous future, it demands a mobilization of union leaders and members, civil society, our parents, politicians, the political will to make the investment in our teachers and in the education system. An investment in our teachers must be seen as an investment in our students. The education system cannot be better than the quality of our teachers. Teachers need to feel appreciated, motivated, and justly remunerated as the vanguards and creators of a just, democratic, and progressive society. I leave with you words from Harry Truman. He said, "Men make history and not the other way around. In periods where there is no leadership, society stands still. Progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize the opportunity to change things for the better." Long live the teachers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Long live the SVGTU. Long live the peoples of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was a pleasure joining.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anderson. And before you mute your mic, please note that at this time, Dr. Anderson, we would have an open forum where we would invite questions from the listening audience. So persons who wish to perhaps ask Dr. Anderson a question or to make a comment, please indicate by raising your hand, and then I would indicate when you can begin. However, to start things off, Dr. Anderson, you mentioned several key points that perhaps I just want to zero in on. You mentioned the establishment of the standards, the teaching standards, as well as the fact that teachers are everything to, everyone. And permit me, sir, to play a bit of devil's advocate here by asking if perhaps do you think what is the exact reason for politicians or the powers that be deciding to establish these standards? Is it that perhaps from a union standpoint, the teachers' unions throughout the Caribbean are very strong, and it's one of the ways in which to you know, to detract from the strength of the organization, to keep the organization perhaps busy in terms of not focusing so much on issues affecting teachers, but perhaps, you know, focus on the standard to deviate from the issues?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Well, I believe probably it's the opposite, that if these standards should come in, the union will have more work to do. Because if you look at these standards, the emphasis, certainly in the Jamaican experience, a lot of emphasis is placed on how you punish the teacher. It's a way to get in the politician's head to weed out bad teachers, because they feel that teachers are getting away with so many breaches. So it will be a time that the union will have to be more vigilant. But it is coming under the disguise that they want to professionalize the profession, so it would have the kind of same prestige as doctors who have their medical council or the nursing councils and the law. So they want, that's the disguise. And the truth is, I personally am not opposed to that we want to reshape, reorganize the teaching profession and to ensure we have the best people remaining in there. But it cannot be at the cost of victimizing, creating these little courts that they're going to set up tribunal to try teachers. And that is the emphasis you see. How do we try teachers? And if they practice without license, how much money they will have to pay, and they have to go to court. Now, one of the politicians in our parliament proposing that all teachers must now have a police record. I don't know about the experience in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but that's a process that takes forever in Jamaica to get. I don't know how the system will be able to provide police record and renew them at particular time for 25,000 plus. So is it that you're setting up teachers to get rid of some of them, you know, to carry them to court, and if you can't pay your $500,000, then you're going to go to spend 6 months in prison? That is in our proposed bill. So I think it's more work for the union. Instead, if that was the attempt to water down the union work, I think this is going to help to build it up. So I hope that was not the real reason, because we are having the opposite effect.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. Is there anyone who wishes to ask Dr. Anderson a question, a man with a wealth of knowledge, or perhaps have a discussion with Dr. Anderson? Now is the perfect time to do so. Dr. Anderson, you mentioned, though, the need for teachers not being everything to everyone, because in other settings and in other school districts, perhaps even in the UK and other places, there are nurses, psychologists, guidance counselors, various entities that the teachers in the Caribbean have a tendency to fill the gap and fill that role. Is it that we tend to have a tendency to think because teachers spend so much time with students that the teachers are the best persons to do that? And then does it compromise the role of teaching, whereby teachers' hands are perhaps tied with various laws in terms of, well, for example, here in St. Vincent, teachers, you know, cannot diagnose certain things, obviously, because we're not trained to diagnose. However, when they're doing various studies or various things on the children, when they're doing various, they're looking for records, they come back to the teacher. So my question is, how do we perhaps come out of walking this fine line, or how do we switch that narrative effectively and, so as to not undermine the role of teachers?
Okay, so for me, it has to be policy driven. I know for a long time the teaching profession emerged that way, that the teacher is just about everything, not only to students, but to communities too. Because the teachers run the churches and the social groups, and you play the instruments at church and so on. You run everything. And we are almost little Jesus to everybody. When you look at the mounting pressures, administratively and otherwise, coming and demands being made on teachers in our schools, I think we have to recognize that we don't have the answers to resolve all the issues that our students are facing. We are, teaching is a specialized science, and so we are there to teach. But in order to teach, there are certain obstacles, there are certain issues that students are confronted with, and they come to the classroom with that. What we want in our schools are professionals who really know about this, who can work with the teacher, not against the teacher. That is why the emphasis is a team approach. So the teacher is part of that team, diagnosing, working with the students to ensure that we provide the best opportunity for that student. For too long, we are trying to be counselor and doctor and nurse and just about everybody, and teacher, which it may have worked to a certain extent, but the new thinking when you talk about the stress and strain on teachers and how some of us go home and we really can't do anything much at home because we are so tired and burn out. We are saying that we should now start calling for other professionals to get on board to work as part of a team, not a solo, but part of a team to address the varying needs that students take to the learning environment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. And one final question from me. I promise it's a final question. Here in St. Vincent, we were hard hit. The teaching profession, that is, has been hard hit for the last 2 years with COVID, with the vaccination mandate, and as well as the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. And after which teachers found themselves in shelters, seeing to those persons who were displaced and teaching and back and forth. And some teachers are at the point where, they are, as you would have mentioned, they're tired and they're burnt out. And there seems to be there's this heavy emphasis on the students, so the students' mental health, their well-being, and whatever. Should we be, as a Caribbean, in the Caribbean context, as a country, get to the point where we, as look at the mental health of our teachers, perhaps offer counseling, emotional support, psychosocial support for our teachers, and not just leave it to perhaps colleagues to help each other? Should it be a standardized thing in light of everything that has happened?
I fully agree with you. In fact, the CUT has in fact asked a group of our colleagues to work together to get these specialized skills across the region to kind of form a group of professionals, counselors, psychologists to be available to teachers across the Caribbean. So that if you want to talk to somebody, you don't want to talk to one of your colleagues to pour yourself out, you can go online and you have a professional that you can talk with, because we know that a lot of our teachers are going through a lot of psychological stress and strain and need this kind of support. So as we go to our executive and education conference in Belize coming up, we are hoping that we will be able to formalize this process and make it available to all our colleagues across the region, because we have recognized just hearing from teachers that this is a need. Secondly, though, as part of our bargaining process, this is something that we should think about. And I'm just sharing my own experience in the JTA. There is a psychologist who is dedicated to working with teachers, and it is being paid for by the government. That came out of our negotiation, and in fact has her office at this point within the JTA, so people can come in physically to see her, and she does counseling online. Is that adequate? Probably not, but it is certainly a very good start that if we have colleagues who need this kind of help, then they can access this service. And we are hoping that she'll be part of this kind of grouping of professionals that we are trying to put together at the CUT to make precisely this kind of support available.
Well, let me thank you, Dr. Anderson, for answering my questions. It seems as though our participants today have decided, just to take it easy. Nevertheless, let me thank you for that lecture, that very inspiring and timely lecture. And at this point, I will call on our first Vice President, Sister Martindale, Nicole Martindale, to offer the vote of thanks. Okay, it seems as though Sister Martindale internet has dropped out. So without further ado, on behalf of the President and the members of the executive of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Teachers Union, let me thank you, Dr. Anderson, for lecturing us to come and give the special lecture here at the CW Prescod Memorial lecture for Solidarity Week. I would also like to thank the administrative staff here for assisting us greatly. Special thanks to Sheena Clouden, who delivered the teacher's song, who rendered the teacher's song. Sister Tashana Reed, who would have paid tribute to CW Prescod. Sister Alicia Benjamin, who introduced our guest speaker. Obviously, we must thank our President Oswald Robinson for bringing his remarks. And a special thank you again to those of you who made it to our lecture today. Before I forget, I must say thank you to Mr. Williams, who provided technical support this afternoon, and our General Secretary, Sister Ketty Kinreen, for invoking God's presence. Just a friendly reminder that tomorrow we have our new members workshop for those persons who are new members of the Teachers Union. That would be from 9 a.m. tomorrow at the Teachers Credit Union office in Kingston, their conference room. We also have our annual general meeting on Wednesday via Zoom. That would begin, I believe, at 5 p.m. Our presidential cocktail on Thursday, and our solidarity march on Friday. We assemble at the Peace Memorial Hall at 2 p.m. to march on Friday, a march and rally. And we also have our barbecue, dubbed Teachers in Talent, on Saturday. Once again, thank you all very much for coming out tonight, this evening, to the CW Prescod Memorial Lecture. I want to wish you, those of you who have to journey, safe journey. And for the rest of you, have a blessed night and God bless.